How you doing? My name is Adam DeBella. Most of you guys probably know me as AMP_training, owner of AMP Training, Active Movement and Performance in Massapequa Park, New York. I own this gym, and I've been a trainer for 7 or 8 years. And about 2-3 years ago, we opened AMP Training. We focus on athletic development. We have calisthenics classes, powerlifting. And then we also just do general fitness, weight loss, getting in shape, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, most people are trying to get into general shape. Most people come in looking to lose fat and build lean muscle. That's a majority of what our client base is. We started with mostly that, and then from there we've grown into other areas, more performance-based training. We've definitely opened up freestyle calisthenics and also brought those classes to the masses.
Okay, so when they do come in now, like you said, they come in for those specific things. How would you start them out? What is a beginner step that you would do?
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Everybody is different, so really it depends on where the client comes from. Some people haven't done anything in years. Other people come in already in good shape looking for a change. So essentially what we do is we try to focus on figuring out the person's movement patterns and then building a program specifically designed for them from there.
Makes sense, definitely.
Yeah.
There's no one program size fits all.
No. Yeah, definitely not.
The principles may be the same, but the actual plan.
It varies, yeah, without a doubt. What's more important with your training program, no matter what your goals are, whether they be to get better at calisthenics, to get into better shape, to lose weight, to put on muscle, the most important thing with your program is going to be the structure of your program, more important than the specific things that you're going to do within that program.
Definitely. So let's talk about weights versus calisthenics.
Okay.
What is the contrast? Why would you want to do weights? Why would you want to do calisthenics?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, just a little bit on my background. Like, I've been training for about 23 years myself, like working out. And I used to do exclusively weights like everybody else. Lifted in everything from bodybuilding styles to athletic development styles to lifting for strength. About 2.5 years ago, I found calisthenics and started training on that. And I don't really look at it as weights versus calisthenics. I look at calisthenics as a sport. And with all sports, you're supposed to use other training modalities to help you get better at that sport. So for my own specific training and what I try to preach to my calisthenics athletes is to use weightlifting as a way to get better at calisthenics. So it's not really one or the other for me. It's kind of a use of both.
So do you see benefit, personally, have you seen benefits in, incorporating the weights with the calisthenics?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. When I first started doing calisthenics, I was so gung-ho about it that I pretty much eliminated like all upper body lifting. So I never stopped squatting or deadlifting because those are just core base exercises that you're supposed to have. But about a year in, one of my exercise science guys told me that I can use some weightlifting movements to get better at some of the things I was struggling at in calisthenics. So I started implementing in things like the overhead press, things like heavy dumbbell rows, things like bench press to increase my strength levels, and they definitely helped with the accumulation of my skills in calisthenics. They helped up some of my strength to help me get better at those moves.
So for someone who's doing one or the other, would you recommend that they incorporate the two?
It's different for everybody, right? Everybody depends on what your goals are and what you see as what works for you. For me, I was hitting some plateaus on some moves in calisthenics, and I started to integrate more strength training, properly programmed into my calisthenics, and it helped me. So I would say, yeah. If you're having struggling with your handstand push-ups and you create more strength in your shoulders and your lats by doing overhead press, your handstand push-ups are going to get better. As long as you don't replace doing your handstand push-ups with the overhead press. You want to program it in to help the weights help you get better at your sport, which is freestyle calisthenics.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Now, moving on to, because, getting better is one thing, but starting.
Yeah.
So creating the habit of exercising. Some people start, as you know, I'm sure many people come in here they're like, hey man, I'm fired up, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And then you don't see them after 2 weeks because they don't see
Yeah.
results. What are some ways that you work on creating the habit for your clients?
Without a doubt. One of the most important things, and the things that I always preach, are you can't you can't motivate anybody. It's up to the person to really motivate themselves. You have to want to make a lasting change in yourself, no matter what your goals are. So the idea of motivation comes, motivation goes. Some days you wake up, we were just talking about this before. Some days you wake up and you're fired up to go hit the park or the gym or whatever it is you're doing, and you go and you have a great day. Some days you wake up and you're just like, I don't want to do this. The idea of cultivating discipline instead of relying on motivation is something that we really preach here. If you make yourself disciplined enough to train no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what's going on outside of your training program, whether you're motivated or not motivated, and you just force yourself to train day in and day out and follow a structured plan and give that plan time and create habits, that's going to give you a long-lasting change. A lot of times what happens is people, they think that you can make changes like that. You come in and, I have a wedding to go to, or I want to lose 20 pounds by this day, right? And you have to give things frame of reference. You have to look at like how long you weren't doing anything compared to how long you've been training, right? So if you've taken 15 years and haven't done anything, you're not going to change your entire body in 15 days. Right. So, and the industry perpetrates it. They say do this 30-day cleanse and you can lose 30 pounds. That's not how it really works. So really, forming habits is what's important.
Definitely, and like what you just said there. You can't change something in 15 days that took 15 years. You've been practicing for 15 years.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Definitely. Now, team or accountability partner, how important would you say that is to the success of a client?
It definitely once again it varies for everybody. Some people love to train solo. They put in their headphones, they put on their beats, they hit the gym, they hit the park. They can motivate themselves. They love to train alone, and that's what they're good at. Other people like to have training partners or teams or people to bounce ideas off. For me, I've done both. I've trained by myself for plenty of years. I have a training partner now, and we definitely pick each other up. Some days I'm not feeling that great, and she pumps me up. Other days it's vice versa. Also building, my own calisthenics team, you feed off these guys, right? So when you train with people, if you're competitive in nature and somebody can do something that you can't do, or they're better at something, one, they can give you ideas and give you what worked for them to help you get better at certain moves or certain things. And two, they also drive you because you don't want to let anybody be better than you at something, right? So healthy competition, I find, is always good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Only once I started training with the team myself is when I saw, real progress. But that kind of drives me to, even when I'm by myself, to work out because I know they're training as well.
Yeah.
While they're getting better, if I'm not training, I'm not going.
And then also the next time you meet up with them, you don't want to be back from where you are. You want to be forward from where you are. Yeah. So.
100% agree.
Yeah.
So now, we're talking about beginners, people who are starting out.
Yeah.
Some people have the excuse that their joints, they're not where they used to be, or they've experienced an injury. How would you tell somebody, that is not a valid excuse because that can be worked around?
Without a doubt, especially with calisthenics training, the style of training that it is, and this is just speaking from basically like science, is it increases your joint strength, so it increases tendon and ligament strength. So while you're going to go through some areas where your elbows are going to hurt, your wrists are going to hurt, that's adaptation. That's your body getting used to you putting it through new stimulus, right? So if you use a style of training that focuses on creating overall body strength, and you do compound movements and you do things that cause multiple joints to do work, your tendons and ligaments are going to get stronger, and you'll actually experience less joint pain than doing nothing, right? So when somebody says, we have clients that come in and say, I have bad knees. And then I'll say, oh, did you have a knee injury? And they'll say, no, I just have bad knees. I said, what does that even mean, right? You don't have bad knees, you have weak knees, right? The way to get your body stronger is to train that movement pattern or that joint, right? So, for example, you have a bad elbow, I can't do push-ups. Short of having an injury that you had surgery or rehab or anything from, if your elbow just hurts, it's probably because you haven't done enough, right? So you need to create the tendon and joint strength by doing more. Obviously, within a smart context, right? You want to know the difference between having an injury and having some soreness.
So
right?
it would be important to maybe check with a specialist or.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you had an injury in the past or you have something that's really nagging, go see a doctor. None of us from the fitness end of it are doctors, so we can't diagnose what would be wrong with you. But if you get a clean diagnosis, we can definitely help you increase the strength in those joints by getting your whole body in better shape, and then you'll actually have less joint pain.
Makes
So,
perfect sense.
yeah.
So let's talk about, can you get big? Can you get, grow muscle doing calisthenics?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, like, look, you can definitely grow muscle doing anything. Your body's going to have an adaptation doing anything. So if you come, speaking from beginners, if you come from doing nothing, doing any kind of training is going to make you have an adaptation. So you're going to shed fat and you're going to build muscle. Calisthenics, you could definitely, if you focus on doing tons of reps and doing strict reps and increasing strength and then increasing the volume of your training and doing density sets and giant sets and tons of pull-ups and push-ups and things like that, you're definitely going to put on muscle. You're going to get bigger, without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah, no, you can definitely put on muscle from doing body weight training. You see guys do it all the time. The proof is in the pudding. There's guys out there that are jacked and yoked, and all they do is body weight style training. So you can definitely, with smart programming, focusing on, if that's your goal to put on muscle, focusing on doing reps and doing clean reps and doing strength and really engaging different muscles, you will grow muscle from doing calisthenics.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because I am bigger than I've ever been, and I've been doing calisthenics for a year, strictly calisthenics.
There you go.
Now, speaking about programs,
Yeah.
building effective programs, having a structure to follow, what is your style? What do you go to?
So for me, like coming from the trainer background and coming from a background that focuses on exercise science, programming is very important to me. So programming out like different lengths of styles of training, of how I'm going to do, and also what I'm going to do throughout the days. I have a training log, and I know a lot of guys may or may not keep a training log, but for me it's important. One, it gives me accountability. It gives me structure on what I'm going to do for that day. It lets me track my progress. And it also, you can just kind of see, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's a notebook that I write in pencil because sometimes it changes. But it gives me accountability and structure. It lets me look back and say, okay, X amount of weeks ago, I was working on this move and I couldn't get it. It took me this many weeks to be able to get this move, which gives you structure and accountability. Speaking on that and structure of programming, you really want to give yourself mesocycles where you give yourself anywhere from a bare minimum of a month up to 3 months of a specific style of training in order to give it time for your body to adapt to it and you to get results, right? The big thing in the industry that the fitness industry is always saying is muscle confusion and not doing the same thing all the time. And that's honestly, that could be further from the truth of anything. If you want to get better at anything, especially something like calisthenics, which is skill-based, you need to have structure. You need to give your body a chance to learn that skill, strengthen through that skill, and have adaptation through that skill. So if you can't do a muscle up, you have to train your muscle ups for a month, 2 months, 3 months until you're good at them. And then when you're good at them, you have to continue to make them better. You can't say, oh, I'm going to work on muscle ups on Monday of April and then do a different style of training and whatever, and just because I'm stronger here, then on a Wednesday in September, I'll be able to do a muscle up. It makes no sense. You have to practice, right? So especially in something like calisthenics, it's a skill. It's as much about strength as it is about skill and understanding where your body is in space and awareness and things like that. You need to practice. You need to have structure. You need to pick things that you want to get better at and practice those things.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so, talking about that, plateaus.
Yeah,
plateaus
without a doubt.
seem to be very abundant, especially for people that reach a point, they're like, you know what, I've been here for 2 months, 3 months, maybe even a year, I can't get it down pat. What are some
there's
practices to get around that?
there's definitely 2 or 3 different like things that you can do to avoid plateaus. One, you have to understand that your training is going to go up and down and balance out regardless. So the longer you train, the more you make it a habit, the more you stick through it, the more you'll be able to bust through those plateaus quicker, because your body will learn how to adapt quicker, and you'll have a better proprioceptive understanding of what your body can do, and you'll learn how to fix skill things quicker the longer you train. 2, the idea of having a program and a log and tracking actually helps you keep track of what you're doing and how you're doing and seeing what works for you, right? So for example, something as simple as a push-up, right? A push-up is nothing more than a moving plank. So you have to break down your plateau is you've been working on doing push-ups for a month. You're brand new and you still can't get a push-up. Well, look at why can't you get the push-up? Do you not have the upper body strength, or do you not have the core strength to be able to do a push-up, right? So for one person, they may have great core strength, but they just don't have the upper body strength. For another person, they may have great upper body strength, but not enough core strength. So while one person may need to continue to work on their push-ups as a skill, but then their accessory work may need to be doing planks, weighted planks, things that engage your abdominals, your lumbar, your glutes, your abs, all those things. And the other person may have to work on creating more upper body strength, so doing incline push-ups. This is where maybe using weights in addition to calisthenics can help you. So I can't do a push-up yet, right? So let me grab some dumbbells and do neutral grip dumbbell presses and superset those with a weighted plank. Now you've broken down what a push-up is into 2 separate moves that you can control the resistance on, and you strengthen your pressing while at the same time worked on your plank. So you do that for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, however long it takes, while continuing to work on your push-ups, and then all of a sudden you can do push-ups, right? So
Perfect.
So
sense.
yeah, the idea of plateaus, I mean, they're going to happen, right? You have to understand how to attack them intelligently and figure out how to program how to work through them.
I agree. I understand that, and that's kind of new to me as well, and it makes perfect sense as you break it down there. Now, how important would you say diet is? How big of a role would that be in performance?
Okay.
And body composition. How important is diet?
For body composition first, which is a lot of people, most people start, at least that's where their goals start, right? At least that's why they start working out. We have a saying here: the working out to an extent increases what your body can do. The way you eat makes you how you look. Nutrition definitely, especially from a body composition standpoint, is huge. Really, what you do in your workouts determines what your body can do, and how you eat determines really how you look, right? Now, obviously, they go hand in hand. One's not mutually exclusive from the other. The best way is to fuel your body in an intelligent way. I eat clean. That's my thing that works for me. Now, as far as nutrition goes, it comes down back to forming habits, right? So you want to find something that's sustainable for you. So you hear some people preach paleo, some people preach vegan, some people preach the IFFM, I think that's what it's called, right? Yeah. So really what's important about nutrition is finding what works for you through experimentation, through what you can manage, and then making that a habit as well, sticking with it, right? Personally, I can eat clean, so that's what I do. I eat clean. It helps me stay lean, and it also helps me feel good, so my performance raises, right? My goals are more performance-based than physique-based, but really regardless of what your goals are, what you fuel your body with is going to have a huge impact on that. Definitely.
Right, I agree as well. And I've lately been doing, the clean eating thing, and my performance as well as my physique has, it has
It's
changed
changed.
drastically.
If you just like use an example, like, if you think of yourself as like a sports car, right? You're a Ferrari, you don't put 87 in a Ferrari, you put the high grade gas. So the better quality of food that you eat, the better you're going to feel, the better you're going to perform.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So talking about rest days now, rest is important. Our bodies need to repair. It needs that downtime
Yeah.
to ensure that your muscles are repairing. What is your take on rest days?
Well, I mean, you hear all these people, oh, I don't take rest days or train every day, or I definitely don't believe in that. You definitely need rest days. As far as how you structure your rest days, that really depends on a lot of things. It depends on your fitness level, where you are in your training. Also, it depends on your schedule, on when you can work out, when you can work out. For me personally, I train 5 days in a row and then I take 2 days off. I need those 2 days. You want to definitely use those rest days and do recovery work and foam roll and myofascial release and work on your mobility and things like that, because that's not only going to help you feel better, it's going to help you perform better, it's going to keep you from getting too tight or keep you from having soft tissue injuries. And also, it's going to help you with either muscle growth or fat loss or anything like that. As crazy as it sounds, you don't actually get the results from the doing while you're working out. It's not during the work. That's the stimulation. It's what happens after that actually gives you the results. So let's say your results are physique-based, are for you wanting to look better. Your most important thing is actually going to be your recovery and your nutrition. The workout part is actually used to stimulate your body to recover and use your nutrition to get you the results. So without rest days programmed in, at least two or three a week, I would say, depending on what your goals are and where your fitness level is, you're definitely going to not only put yourself at a higher risk for injury, you're going to put yourself at a higher risk for burnout, both mentally and physically, and you're going to put yourself at definitely a higher risk to get more plateaus.
I agree. Definitely agree with you there. As I am experiencing an injury myself because not taking enough rest days or stretching enough.
There's a saying they say, like, there's no such thing as overtraining, but you can definitely under recover. So definitely you want to match your recovery, whether it be with rest days, your nutrition, your sleep, your mobility work, to match your level of training, the intensity of training. Yeah.
So this next question, obviously it would depend on the individual. I'm assuming, but effective routine buildings, like push, pull, balancing the like you said, full range of motion. What would be an effective way to build a routine?
There's once again, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. There's no one right way to build your routine or build your program. What I do for me is, because I look at calisthenics as a sport, I break down my calisthenics training into almost two separate elements. I break it down into the strength building, working out element, and then the practice element. The practice element I look at as skill development, where I work on skills. Now that can be anything from practicing your handstand to practicing 360s to working on tightening up freestyles to doing new moves to working on figuring out where your body is in space on your planche, your front lever, your front lever, your back lever, anything like that. And then I on the same days, I will build strength either before or after, depending where I am in that program. Then for me, I still lift weights, especially with my lower body. I still squat, I still deadlift, I still do a ton of power work and a ton of accessory work for my legs, just for general strength to keep the foundation of my pyramid strong, right? If you think about your training as a pyramid, the larger your base, the larger your strength level, the larger your basics, the higher your peak is going to be, right? So the more strength you create, the more general strength that you have, the better you're going to be to get at any skill or any sport or any goal. So for me, what I'll do is I train calisthenics 3 times a week, and then I do my lower body days in between that. So I'll train calisthenics on Monday. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing all statics on Monday, and then Tuesday I'm doing either a squat or a deadlift day with accessory work behind that. Wednesday I'm doing my freestyle day where I practice all my freestyles, because I do freestyle calisthenics. I like the flows, I like the tricks as much as I like the statics. And then Thursday, I'll do another squat or deadlift day with accessory work behind it. And then Friday, I have a huge upper body rep day where I combine different weightlifting techniques with push-ups, pull-ups, muscle-ups, 4 reps. So
That's cool.
that's how I build my program. Now, honestly, I'm not going to follow that structure for anything more than 3 months. I'm going to do that for anyway. Usually I do it for about 8 weeks, and then I kind of flip it up and play with it and toy with it a little bit. So when building your program, you just want to remember that the structure of your program is what's important. You can play with what goes where, and definitely toy with how you do certain things. Sometimes within my structure, I'll freestyle and do statics and reps on the same day, and I'll just do that 3 days a week. So it really depends on what works for you, and you have to experiment on what style is going to be best for you, really.
Certainly,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Once again, let's just touch on cardio real quick. What style of cardio would you say is best? You know, we have like high intensity interval training. You have long distance cardio. There's many different types of cardio. Which one would you recommend or say is most effective?
Once again, it's really goal dependent. You want to look at what your goal is. So let's say, I know a huge amount of people that are going to be watching this, their goals are the calisthenics game. You have to look at like what, and especially if you're looking to compete in freestyle tournaments or stuff like that, you have to look at what your energy system that you need is going to be, right? So like in a battle format, most battles are 3 minutes long. They go 30 seconds back and forth. So if you're jogging to get in shape for that, it's going to do nothing for you, because jogging is low intensity cardio. All it's going to do is make you worse at calisthenics, actually. So you want to try to actually mimic that in 2 different ways. One, you want to train that in a different energy system. So, for example, Tabata is a great way to do, or interval style training, the high intensity interval. And you can do anything with that. You can slam med balls for 30 seconds, which isn't going to tax your body the same way that calisthenics will. So you can do that at the end of some of your days to help increase your work capacity, to help increase your basically your lungs and get you in better shape to compete. Another thing you want to do is you want to actually practice the style of the sport. So let's say you're entering a tournament that you know is going to be 2 different 2-minute rounds. You want to build a program, and then literally your cardio should be practicing that program for 2 minutes, then taking a little bit of break, and then doing it again for 2 minutes. And you could do that anywhere from 2 times to 8 times, 10 times, depending on what kind of shape you're in. If you know you're going into a battle, grab a training partner and battle, right? Do 3 3-minute rounds the way you would be. If you know you're going to battle of the bars and you know you're going to do a 3-3-minute round, then in 30 seconds pass back and forth, grab a training partner and battle for cardio. Why not, right? That's what it is. Other than that, me personally, I really don't do any cardio. I build my conditioning through my sport, right? And that's really, if you're looking to do any kind of sport that's not conditioning or aerobic in nature, you don't really need to have so much aerobic activity. Yeah, my
Great,
personal
that's
feeling.
great.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, that's, I'm going to repeat.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so anyone looking, to get started right now, action is a bridge to change. So what would you tell anybody, looking to get started at this very moment? What would you tell them?
Do anything, really. If you're doing nothing, your body's going to have an adaptation to just about anything. So there's a thing called the adaptation principle where, let's say you're 25, 35, 45, 50 pounds overweight, whatever it may be, and you want to lose weight. If you do any form of exercise, your body's going to have an adaptation, especially when you start, right? That being said, you want to obviously educate yourself and get smarter at what you do. really what it comes down to is making a change, a choice in your mind. A lot of people think that like working out, whether it be calisthenics or any other sport-based powerlifting, Olympic lifting, or even just getting in shape, a lot of people think that it's a purely physical thing. It really is more mental than physical, right? You have to make a choice in your mind where you want to make a change in your life, right? Once you make that choice to make the change, don't rely on being motivated or training when you feel good or training when you want to. Literally try to cultivate discipline, right? It really is better to rely on discipline than to rely on motivation, right? So the more you do, the more you experiment, the more you play with, whether it be different styles of training and figure out what works for you, that's going to help you reach your goals. So if you find that you love doing calisthenics, do calisthenics. If you find that you love lifting weights, lift weights. If you find that you like doing both and mixing and matching both, mix and match both. If you love calisthenics but only want to do strict reps, do that. If you like freestyling, do that, right? And then the longer you go along within your style of training, the more serious you get about your training, you'll figure out what to steal from the other disciplines and put into your training to make you better at what your preferred form of training is.
That is great. That makes perfect sense. And once again, is people that go I'm too young or too old? Is there an age limit or too young, too old age to start?
I mean, especially with calisthenics, with bodyweight style training, there's no too young to start. You can do push-ups and pull-ups and work on things. I mean, kids are in gymnastics classes as young as 3, 4, 5 years old. Kids go on football teams and they do, leg lifts and push-ups and squat thrusts. So with bodyweight training, there's really no age limit on the youth on when you can start. And honestly, with proper programming, there's no age limit on what you can do either. If you are older and you're not in great shape and you have a history of either illness or injury, I would definitely suggest seeking out somebody that's a fitness professional to at least help you guide you on the right path in the beginning. But it's never too late to start. It's definitely not, age is not an excuse. It's just you've been around longer, so you should be better, right? Yeah.
So anyone looking to get in contact, gain more information about you and what you do.
Yeah.
Social media, where you are located.
Yeah, I mean, AMP Training, our facility is in Massapequa Park, Long Island. We're right on Front Street, 125 Front Street, Massapequa Park, Long Island. My company's website is amp-training.com. You can also get in contact with us through email for there. As far as me personally, my Instagram, which is the social media outlet that I pay most attention to, is amp_training. My gym has a Facebook, Active Movement and Performance. So you can find us anywhere, and definitely any questions, shoot me any kind of emails, DMs, anything like that. I'll be happy to help.
Man, awesome. I appreciate you.
I
that
appreciate
information extremely valuable, and I hope this will not just people will listen to it and be like, hey man, this is good stuff. Now let me go back to living my life.
Yeah, hopefully.
That they'll take action, and man, they're become the athletes or whatever, live the life, the active lifestyle.
Whatever your goals are, yeah, without a doubt. Definitely just work. Just put in that work.
Just put in that work.
Yeah.
Thanks again, and we're about to get to some training right now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you guys will see action.
Definitely.
All right.